Hello, I'm Brian OKeefe, and I would like to welcome you to Designing Blended Experiences. If this is your first time with us, allow me to extend a personal invitation to get your pencils and sketch along with us to design seamless user experiences that blend digital and physical spaces together. So, tell you what, let's get started. In this presentation, I'll cover our Plant Pals design fictions, explore what are blended spaces, and of course introduce our blended experiences framework and summarize our findings, and thank you for your time. We are a grassroots team of researchers that banded together on a particular cause to explore and continue David Benyon's work with designing with blends. So Mike Mastermaker and I from Farmingdale State College, Tom Flint and David Benyon contributed to this work, as well as Miriam Sturdee from the University of Lancaster. Thought today I'd do a little design fiction called Plant Pals. I hope you enjoy. There are two primary characters here: Holly, a botanical hipster from New York City, and David, a decorated gardener. In New York City, Holly goes to the botanical gardens to get away from her busy life in Brooklyn. Holly simply meanders around, enjoys the scenery, takes in all the greenery around her. But Holly is a botanical hipster who likes particular kinds of plants, not just the garden variety roses or sunflower daffodils. She likes specific species that are uncommon, and of course she finds one tucked away behind a bunch of pots. And upon seeing this, she gets a small vibration in her pocket and is alerted that there's a gift waiting for her from Edinburgh. Meanwhile, David, the decorated gardener in Edinburgh, is busy feeding his roses that are particular in color and nature. And back in New York, Holly receives a particular gift, a seed from David's garden, and she accepts it. Once Holly accepts that seed, David and Holly are able to communicate, share their love for particular botanicals, and share interests in how to care for plants. And in return, Holly sends seeds back to David, particular plants that David can't grow in Edinburgh. Holly puts her mobile device back in her pocket and enjoys the rest of her day as she meanders through the botanical gardens in New York City. And along her way, she's able to pick up other roses and other flowers and other unique species that are shared to her by other people around the world as she makes a community of garden enthusiasts. But Holly needs to return to her apartment in Brooklyn and meanders back home to her busy life. Upon entering her apartment, Holly receives a notification that her seed from David has grown. And aligning her mobile device with any cylindrical object in her apartment, she's able to see the augmented reality layer of her digital rose growing from within her coffee cup. And of course, since she spent her day throughout the gardens, she has picked up other flowers and other seeds from other people around the world, and she's able to see a bouquet of flowers and other plants that have been given to her during the day. So what are blended experiences, and why are they important? In 1994, Milgram and Kishno looked at the mixed reality spectrum to look at how things in the real environment transition into the virtual environment, looking at everything from tangible user interfaces to immersive VR and everything in between. And what this research has done is created a foundation to how we explore blends and what blended spaces are. Blended space is an extension of mixed reality, but at a level of physical place rather than product. It's not about the mobile phone or device. It's about the physical environment and the experience that you have with it. Blended spaces are places where physical space and digital spaces have been carefully co-designed. However, blended spaces are more than just mixed realities. Blended spaces have their own coherence, their own properties. For starters, blended theory is a theory where knowledge of creation comes from the linguistics research. It shows how similarities, but also recognizes differences between how certain domains and how we understand new experiences. Give you an example. Frenemy. You might not know what frenemy means, maybe you do, but it's two fundamental ideas coming together, a friend and an enemy. But in this case, a great example is Magneto and Professor Xavier, two quintessential enemies trying to take over the world in different ways, but of course, at the end of the day, they love playing chess. Blended Spaces also looks at presence theory and presence in designing blended experiences. Presence is the sense of being in a place, or being there. Presence is often defined as the illusion of non-mediation. In 2005, Steve Benford used his Trajectories framework to create Uncle Roy Around You, which looks at blast theory to explain seamless user experiences through the use of discovery and storytelling. Meanwhile, the Blended Spaces framework that David and I put together looked at how school children can transition in and out of physical places through augmented reality platforms. However, understanding how to transition between digital and physical spaces isn't so easy, and it wasn't clear in our original work how those two things came together. So what we've created in this paper is the Blended Experiences framework, which merges David Benyon's Designing Spaces framework with Benford's Trajectory framework to create new experiences in how we move between digital physical spaces, and then of course back again. In this case, we look at how Benford's trajectory model fits within the transition between physical spaces and digital spaces. And the cell on the right, you'll see that the transitions and trajectories start at the beginning. And in this story of Plant Pals, the beginning happens in the vibration of the pocket. Holly receives the notification in a subtle way, of course, not distracting from her environment, but to let her know that there's a gift from another land far away that's given to her. And this begins the transition between the physical space going into the digital space. But of course, we need to come back out of the digital space and back into the physical space. So the cell on the right looks at how, after the interactions of using the app and collecting seeds, that Holly places her phone back into her pocket. And although this might seem like a physical space gesture, the mobile phone and the software behind it is gathering information about her physical location, while the digital space looks to align physical things in the real world, such as a sunflower, and to use them as physical resources so that it anchors that interactions into the physical space, then of course reaching out to the digital world. And in this case, Ed Hutchins used this model of material anchors in this context. Through these interactions, blended spaces have then merged, and these mergence comes into episodes and seams. And these episodes and seams create these moments of blends. When Holly is not really interested in the mobile phone at all, she's interested in just meandering through the environment and meandering through the space that she's enjoying. Meanwhile, the mobile services and the interactions happen in the background. So she has a new sense of place, a new sense of being there, and of course feeling connected to people that frankly are living far and gardening far away. In summary, by merging Benford's trajectories into Benyon's Spaces framework guided us in the creation of a third tool, designing blended experiences. With all these transitions and trajectories, they add more depth to your design process and strategy. A blended experience is not an all-encompassing experience, but rather a series of individual moments. On the bottom right, you can see that there's two cells that really highlight how these two digital and physical spaces to come together to create a new sense of place. Whereas the other cells that are shadowed are other transitions. They may not be blended spaces, but they're either physical or digital, or the transitioning between the two. And in summary, digital things can produce physical experiences. You would think so naturally, but also physical places can produce digital experiences. And that's key. When we came away with this was, just because it's a mobile device and you're using the mobile device doesn't mean it's a digital thing. And vice versa, just because you're in the physical space doesn't mean that that physical interaction is just a physical interaction. There's segues between the digital and physical spaces here. So designing blended experiences guides us in the design of seamless user experiences that bring digital and physical spaces together and how we transition between them. Thank you. This presentation is dedicated to our colleague, friend, and mentor, David Benyon.